Okay.
Sorry, girls.
Folks in. Let's take a look at this waiting room. We got 11 in here so far. So
You have like at least a 1 minute lag in your video.
that's all right.
Okay.
So I'm going to be winging it, and then I'll be prompting you, provide your introductions, and
Abby would like to know if it's okay to heckle you while you're live.
who?
Abby Thompson.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh.
Yes, Abby, go for it.
If you guys want to be ready to introduce yourselves when just jump in front of the camera. So, all right, I'm letting folks in.
Should we sit up there too? Or?
We'll just leave it on those three for now,
Okay.
because and then when you come in, you. Let's get the view going. Oh, look at all the people coming to visit. Hello. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Kathleen. Hello, everyone. I gotta remember just to let people in all the time. People be knocking the doors down. It's not a requirement, but if you turn on your camera, it's just so sweet to see you guys. This is all about interacting. The team can see you as well, so it's so much better talking to your face rather than your text, which doesn't make sense. But it is 6:01, and we are definitely not as late as we should be. So I don't have everyone muted yet. I may do that if you guys start acting up. I'm just kidding. We all have like pets and kids and everything at home, messing up our day and all of our meetings. I know all of my team's pets right now because they're jumping on them and their kids, and so it's so personal. I'm so glad you're joining us tonight. I'm gonna wait for a little bit. I'm gonna do that Zoom thing. We're just gonna wait until everyone gets in and settled, and then we'll introduce the evening. But I'll let you look at the RDNs instead of me.
Thank you.
She said thank you. We are in the same room together, just so you guys know. I'm not allowed to sit by them.
Our masks.
Yeah, we all have our masks on. We don't want to get the vid too. That's a thing. For folks on there, I'm going to be reminding you a few kind of logistic things that are that we do have going on. We are currently live casting this on the Facebook. That's a really neat internet application here that allows us to network each other. So I happen to have my own Facebooks, and we are casting live on there right now. So there may be that have some questions. The Facebook lag is about 30 seconds to a minute behind. So if it happens that we're talking about a subject and to jump back a little bit because of Facebook question, it's not on them. It's just part of the feed. And this is really going to be a lot about Q&A. So.
What about the lag now? It's catching up a little bit.
What was I looking for? 12? Someone was nice enough to give me a Starbucks Americano. Straight up. This is the good stuff right here. I'm pretty much lit. So
I'm coffee.
Let's not talk about coffee diets. I'm
Not
the guy
coffee
to
and
do that.
lemon, not coffee and lemon.
Not coffee and lemon. We're gonna light it up here today. So we got some really cool people coming in. Oh man, we even got someone all the way from the Southwest on here. The champ, Leroy Silva, woo, NB3.
Oh, very cool.
They heard us. I'm so excited. It's my family down
I
there.
thought they were gonna control them in base. Did you start yet?
Not yet. We're getting there.
Okay, John, this is Cecilia, Charlene,
Hello.
and Erica.
Hello, Charlene.
Hi,
I've been
John.
waiting for such a long time.
Yeah, long time.
Oh my God. I was just telling somebody I miss Charlene's hugs. I haven't seen it for a while. Like
Oh,
COVID 30. And I'm not even really much of a hugger, but I'm going to open up the chat as well because I think that's another good way of communicating for all of us. Carla says, I'm on a cellular network and driving. I might leave. Well, you know what? Safety first. This, if you didn't get prompted, this meeting, this engagement tonight is going to be recorded. So, and will be available for viewing. I don't know how interesting or fun that's going to be, but like I don't even know who like looks at all of our all staff meetings and goes, geez, I'm gonna go back to the April 16th one. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Because we don't really do that. But
I did give permission for heckling, so.
okay, I can be heckled. We got some.
Speak for yourself, John. I love those things.
Ooh, yes, yeah, she would too. You should see her action strategy plans. She goes dope for that. Well, let me see here. Well, it's all good. We got kind of our Brady Bunch thing going on right now. I know there's more coming on. Also, there's some on Facebook Live, so that's going on my screen as well. So, aho hanachi ni karigi we know. Mashu skaga wahanakshina. Aha hete hitakoro hara hostoyanaga. Aurora wanaishkuni hashanina huina honiki dagi kshinawi. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the health and wellness team, community health and wellness team for the Ho Chunk Nation. We're going to try to have this forum. It was just a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago. We sat down at a little restaurant and had some dinner and conceptualized having a discussion on some of these dangerous diets. And, you know, I want to say with all seriousness, there are a lot of folks who have jumped onto these trendy diets. You may have heard them, you may have seen them. If you have TikTok or Snapchat, you see a lot of people pushing a lot of these methods of dieting. And they have some popularity to them, which means they work. And so it's kind of with the logic that, hey, these 2 aspirin got rid of my headache, maybe 4 aspirin will get rid of it faster, you know. So this is what is happening, you know, in dieting, in a lot of dieting, where people are modifying existing diets that may be in base fairly good and allow you a healthy weight loss, but they're pushing it to the extreme so that they can lose weight fast. I want to go through a couple of logistics here tonight. We have a chat box there. For those of you who are not using Zoom very often, if you hover your mouse over or your finger over the screen, you will see some options at the bottom, perhaps under the more icon, and you can click on the chat, and the chat will allow you to type in your questions. I do prefer this to be a discussion, but if it does get to be where we start getting a lot of reverb and things aren't coming through, at least in communication, we want to make sure that folks can all listen. So tonight, we're very happy to introduce 3 of the registered dietitians. I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves. I know we have some folks from the exercise physiologist team on here as well. Super bonus night. So we have basically our entire health and wellness team. If you are Ho Chunk, if you are of the Ho-Chang Gate, if you are interested in losing weight, and I don't want to say it just like that because health is a lot more than losing weight. It's making sure that your nutrition is in balance, making sure that you are feeling good, your self-confidence is up, your energy levels are up. So I am gonna
records letter H, whoever is making the motion, if we could add.
Frozen.
all right, hold on. I do provide a different option here. Recording. Facebook.
We're gonna need a report from TAU board. We'll put that under letter H.
There we go. So if you do have something you want to add or ask open on the camera, which I prefer, go ahead and you either raise your hand, hitting that icon at the bottom, or just type something in the chat. And I'll definitely throw your microphone on, request to turn your microphone on, and we're going to have this discussion. So at this time, I'm going to introduce some of our team members here. So on the cast, on our headlining cast are going to be our, what are you, dietitians or nutritionists, or what are you?
We are registered dietitians. That's our official title. But we also refer to ourselves as nutritionists just because it's a little bit easier of a term to kind of know a little bit about what we do. So
Another huge question is dietitian spelled with a T or a C?
a T.
Okay.
Other countries might spell it with a C, but here
Okay.
it's a T.
Awesome. Kathy? Anything to-
I was just gonna say RDN is kind of our official title. It stands for Registered Dietitian / Nutritionist. So kind of covers everything.
Really quick, what does it take to be an RDN? Do you get, is that a degree, a certification, credential?
Yep, yeah, you have to go through your undergrad, and then depends on what kind of pathway you take. There's a few different pathways, but basically you've got to do some sort of on-the-job training through internships of some sort, and then pass the test, of course. And then once we're done, then you can go on. And now they actually changed the rules. You have to get your master's too, right? We have interns with us here today, so right, gals?
I would like them to jump in front of the camera and introduce themselves as well. So we do have a couple interns working with the registered dietitians here today. So the first one.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Aliana. I'm an intern from Viterbo.
Hi, I'm Erin. I'm an intern from Viterbo.
Thank you, Eliana and Erin, for joining us here tonight. I don't like using the word intern because it kind of makes it sound like they're still kind of learning stuff. They're actually pretty brilliant, and they specialize very much in this field. So if I had more room, we'd probably have a much larger panel and have the whole team. But I kind of put these guys on the roast because you know, they work with me, and I rely a lot on them. I'll call them up with questions, my own personal health questions as well. So any questions right off the bat for these wonderful contestants here? If they are, throw them in the chat. We're going to open up the discussion as well pretty quickly. So thank you for joining again. Again, this is live. It is recorded. So we are going to go through a couple different prompts here for folks to consider. One of the, you know, and I'm going to start to, I'm going to actually begin kind of laying out the discussion. Oh, I still want to introduce some other folks here. We have our leader, our boss, our vision, our community health director, Sarah Peterson. Sarah, can you jump on just a hot second and say hello? Sarah, can you jump on?
I love how you always catch me when I'm eating. But on the bright side, I'm eating peppers, so healthy diet tonight. Hello, everyone. I want to thank you all for attending this Zoom meeting. This is extremely exciting to be able to offer this to all of you. especially on a live platform where we can interact with you. Thank you, John, for organizing this. I know you put a lot of time and dedication into this, so thank you for all of your efforts there. I just want to remind everybody out there that if you ever need any sort of assistance from community health, just please reach out to myself or John. You can also reach out to Trisha Jaycox, our community health nurse supervisor in Black River Falls, as well as Michelle Samfier. She's the community health nurse supervisor down in House of Wellness. We also have Byron Goodbear, who is our food distribution supervisor, as well as Lynette Walker, who is our community health representative supervisor. So once again, thank you all, ladies. You all look lovely on camera, and have a great meeting.
Thank you so much. And just a little off the wall fact, I'm replacing Sarah in this position. So this was her job as well before. So I can't really hide anything. She knows what I'm doing all the time. So I feel like I'm constantly being judged. No, I'm just kidding. We also, and thank you for introducing yourself as well. We have our exercise physiologist. That's a big word. Jess, Kathleen, Nick, say hello. I'm gonna have you guys unmute for a hot second.
I'm already unmuted if you can hear me. I'm not on camera quite yet because I still got about 2 more minutes in my truck. But I'm Nick. I'm the exercise physiologist at the House of Wellness. I've been with us for about a year now, and I'm sure that I've worked with a handful of people that are on this call tonight. But if you ever need any exercise services, please feel free to reach out to any of the people with our team, and they'll get you in touch with the right person.
Thank you, Nick. And we're going to have all their email addresses here available as well. So I'll throw them on blast so they're going to get questions from all over. Kathleen, hello.
Hello, I am the exercise physiologist for the Black River Falls area, and I've been with the tribe a little over 16 years. So hit me up if you need some help.
Thank you. Jess and Puppy.
I am Jess, like John said. I am the exercise physiologist for the Nakusa and Wittenberg areas. If I can help with anything, definitely give me a call, shoot me an email, whatever works for you. Excited to get to know anybody who needs help or is interested in programming.
Thank you very much. Yay, that's a health and wellness team. We have a couple recruiters here, so they are in charge of gathering the names and helping to organize our classes, our diabetes management classes, diabetes prevention classes, nutrition classes, exercise classes. We keep pretty busy. So fortunately, I don't have to be in all that network. I'm more on the grants and administrative, all that fun stuff. So I try to keep that as far away from my team as possible, but I need them. They have helped us out a lot. Without the grants, without the support, we can't do what we do. So again, big surprise out there that it requires a lot of office work as well. So let's get this show on the road. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us again. That was the team, the health and wellness team. Tonight, we're going to be discussing a little bit. Now, when I first sent this out, I sent you a before and after picture of me. And I apologize for those of you who actually didn't realize, that there was a struggle behind losing this weight, that it was not that easy. And, it was a lot of weight. So over the course of 176 pounds that were lost, now keep in mind, no surgeries, no magic elixirs, no whey powders, no gym memberships. This is just basically running on the cheap as much as possible and jumping on a lot of these fad diets, because early on in my weight loss, it was really about low carbing. That was the biggest thing. Atkins, Billy Blanks, I was a little bit older, so I can go back as far as Jody Greggins. So some of you guys know this little girl that had this little hair job on the side, and she did these aerobics. So I didn't really get into that back then, but we struggled. My wife and I, we sat there low carbing, talking about noodles for an hour and a half, talking about bread. Can we just have a piece of toast? Oh my God, it would be so good. And we literally salivate over the concept of eating some sort of carbohydrate. And little did I realize that we were depleting of ourselves of some necessary nutrients. Later on, we get into, you know, whether it be fasting or exercising. We did things very unstructured. And it wasn't until about 2008 when I joined the Healthy Lifestyle Balance Program, is what it was called back then. And we started to learn a little bit about food. That education alone helped us to not only lose weight, but lose it in a healthy manner and understand what was happening to our body at the time. So I'm gonna put the spotlight on our team here because this is gonna be all of them. But it was a long process. I just want to finish up. It was a long process. We've had our share of successes and some failures, some lessons learned. But in reality, if your goal is just simply to lose weight at any cost, it's not going to be good for you in the long run. What we have here are professionals that understand a lot of these diets, almost all these diets, the nutrients that are going into it, and what can actually happen over the course of time. You know, while you're dieting, are you depriving yourself of necessary nutrients, carbohydrates, fats, those types of things? Let's not vilify anything that, you know, you consider food, because you might need it. So these are the folks to ask that. So please type some questions in the chat, raise your hand, you know, scream, squeeze the cat. I don't know, get my attention somehow. So this is the team, and we are going to have some quick discussions here. So how many diets are out there that you guys are seeing in your profession? Like, what's kind of the more popular diets that you guys are running across?
It's always, I was just gonna say there's a lot. I wouldn't even know how to put a number to how many we see. Obviously some big ones right now are gonna be keto. I think we all come across that pretty commonly. Intermittent fasting. For me, some of the newer ones that I've started to see a lot are 75 hard and the carnivore diet. Those are some newer ones, but I've definitely kind of seen them blow up recently. You guys?
Yeah, just different variations of the low carb for me usually. That's been popular for quite a while now.
Yeah, about the same, or maybe some intermittent fasting a little bit.
So what is keto?
Well, the official keto is fairly set. It's a very high fat, moderate to low protein, and low carb. So what I would say about 20 up to 50 grams of carb.
Yeah, no more than 50 grams of carbs per day for sure.
Yeah,
sometimes lower.
I think a lot of people don't realize that, like the screen shows, it's 70 to 80% fat. And what's happening is that, you know, when a person goes into ketosis, their body is actually running on fat. It's, you know, and not only the fat in your diet, but the fat, you know, from your body. So you're not running on carbohydrates anymore. Your body's kind of switched over to burning that fat. And, you know, the thing with the keto diet, I mean, it's very structured, it's very precise. I'll mention, I think sometimes people think they're doing keto, but unless they're actually doing this very precise thing, it's really not keto. It's a lower carb diet, but it's not actually necessarily keto. And you can't have cheat days on keto because you won't stay in ketosis. So I'm not saying that, you know, it's a great thing, but there is research that in the short term it works. However, the long term is what there is no research on. And so that is the thing. And I'll also mention, as long as we're bringing this up, it's really, really important. If anybody is thinking about doing this or is going to do this, they need to see their doctor. I'm not recommending it, but if people are going to do this, they need to see their doctor if they're on diabetes medications or blood pressure medications, because they can go severely low blood sugar and severely low blood pressure. So they need definitely medical supervision.
So I seem to know a lot of people who claim to be on keto. Would you say that they're probably not on true keto? And they're on kind of the fundamentals of keto? Because I think they're telling me they're on keto, but they're slamming a six pack of Natural Light, and you know, they're probably not on keto, right? Or they'll say, well, I can have a cheat day, because that is your body in ketosis. What is that? what's happening in your body. You're just burning fat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, essentially.
Yep.
So yeah, I think the majority of the people we see definitely aren't doing true keto, I would say.
Yeah. And it does have its place. It can assist people with epilepsy and things like that, but you've got to see your doctor for those type of things. It's got to be under medical supervision. Some places even require you to go into the hospital to start, so. Definitely.
So jump in if you can, any of the EPs, but are you seeing people matching up their keto diets with high intensity exercise if they are having lower carbohydrate intake? What's the effect on their exercise if they are getting into higher output, cardiovascular work, or what are you seeing out there?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've seen a few people doing that, and I think the one thing that people don't understand is the value of carbohydrates, that your body needs them, and especially for high intensity exercise, that is where what your body uses for fuel. So if you are starving yourself with carbohydrates, you're gonna do what they call bonking. You're gonna hit the wall. So it isn't beneficial if you're an active person to be limiting carbohydrates so much. I don't know, Jess, or you got anything else to say about that?
Yeah, I guess I would say I've had gotta make sure my mic's on. I've had the same experience with a couple of my clients doing the low carb and realizing that their energy, they couldn't figure out why their energy was so low when they were amping up their exercise. And after discovering, or after talking a little bit to them, realizing, that they were doing the low carb and that was seriously affecting their workouts. So I think they kind of found that themselves once we talked through it and realized, yeah, I need the carbohydrates to get, to that next level in my exercise and to maintain my weight, or to lose weight as well, just depending on what their goal is. I think realizing that carbs aren't a bad thing and that they're a necessary thing, especially when you're adding that intensity to your exercise, is one thing that I really drove home with a couple of clients. And you could still lose weight and eat your carbohydrates. It's all about the balance.
We have some Facebook questions.
I think what I'd really,
Go ahead, Kathleen.
I just want to say I'd really like to hear the RDs tell people what carbohydrates do in the body, and then really maybe more explain exactly what ketosis is. So I'm putting the RDs on the spot right now.
Excellent. And I'm glad you're doing that. I don't know why I go right after Kyla on this, because I made her jump on this one question, but we do have folks that are, low carbing. And so I'm going to put a graphic up here, and maybe that will provide some assistance with her as well.
Yeah, so I'll tackle part of that at least. So kind of like Kathleen mentioned, carbs are our main source of energy. So that's what our body actually prefers to use as its energy source. And that carbohydrate intake, what it's converted to inside our bodies, is readily available for our organs and especially for our brain. Carbs are so incredibly important for our brain's function. So if you kind of think about that on the opposite side, then if we're really limiting carbs or cutting carbs out, that's putting a big toll on your body, on your organs. That's why it's really common to feel low energy levels, to feel a little like foggy in your mind, maybe not like quite as, sharp or quick to answer things if you're really that low in carbohydrate intake. And kind of related to the image that's pulled up here. So it kind of shows you what happens. And this is sort of the appeal to a low carb or a keto diet, I should say, is when you eat carbohydrates and they start to be used in your body, muscles, organs, or using up those carbs, that glycogen that the carbs are broken down into also stores water in your body. They kind of go hand in hand. And so as you're eating carbs, you do have some water weight in your body. And so when people all of a sudden jump to a keto diet and they have that big drop in weight initially, that's water weight. That's not fat coming off of your body that quickly. And so I think that's something that people need to understand too, is you do see some drastic results pretty quickly, but that's not your body losing fat that quickly. It's that water weight coming off. And so what happens then is over time, as you try to start to incorporate some carbohydrates back into your diet, you start to see that number go back up because you're going to gain some of that water weight back too. So it's a really, I think it's really important to kind of know some of that basic science behind it so that you don't think like, oh, I cut out all carbs and I lost a bunch of fat in 1 week, because that's just not what's happening. So.
And carbs are not the enemy, right? They're not the villain of diets and health and weight loss, correct?
Correct.
And we want to choose healthier carbs. I mean,
Mhm.
there's, if we think about carbs, that's soda, right? That's sugar. Those are carbs and lots of like white flour things. And I'm not demonizing any food, but when we talk about healthy carbs, we really want to mean less processed carbs. We want to think about fruits and vegetables, whole grains, like unprocessed grains, like, whole wheat products and brown rice and wild rice and whole corn and hominy, those kinds of whole grains. And we also want to think about legumes, which are like dried beans and split peas. Those are really full of fiber and full of nutrients that are not processed away. That fiber really fills us up. And in our diets today, I think it's like 90% of people don't get enough fiber. And fiber is really a key for weight management because it fills us up. So if we're not getting enough fiber, we're not going to feel satisfied. We're going to be snacking more because we're going to be hungry. So when we can get the fiber up in our diets, which is only in carbohydrates, it's not in fat and protein, then it gives us a fighting chance to, have our hunger kind of satisfied. So there's really a difference in kinds of carbs, healthy
Sorry,
carbs.
I'm a little late on this stuff, but
So we got,
so there are healthy carbs.
yes, and
A
that's.
carb is not a carb.
Yeah, you can look at it that way. There's the quality of the carbs. And especially when, people have pre-diabetes, they have the chance to really turn their blood sugars back into the normal range, by being physically active and, getting a healthier diet. And part of that includes choosing whole grains instead of the white flour kinds of things, instead of the sugary drinks, instead of the added sugar. So it's looking at getting better carbs in your diet, and you really can turn that pre-diabetes around.
So whole wheat fry bread is the way to go, right? You guys ever talk about that in your classes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes,
Yeah?
we do. We got a recipe.
Tell me about whole wheat fry bread.
On that note, someone wants to know if 1 piece of fry bread will keep you out of ketosis, so.
Yes, it
It
would.
would.
Put
Yeah.
that in there, even whole grain.
Yes.
Yep.
Probably. I mean, if it's only 20 to 50 grams a day, I would,
Yeah.
depending how big the fry bread is.
Yeah, right, that's true. Yeah.
I have a couple more questions.
Yeah, fire away.
How is the whole 30 for diabetics? Do you know the whole 30?
I know a little bit about it.
Repeat the question.
The question was, is the whole 30 good for people with diabetes?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a thought.
Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's like a low grain diet, like a low starch, no beans, right? It's like low carb, isn't it? A form of low carb, like lots of meat, fruits and vegetables and such. So the thing to remember whenever you make a drastic change and like dropping your carb intake, if you're on diabetes medication or insulin, that can be really, really dangerous. And that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier. If you're making like drastic changes in your diet and you take insulin or medications like glipizide or glyburide that are making your body put out insulin, which is always lowering your blood sugar, and you are dropping the carbs in your diet, you can have severe low blood sugar. So, you have to be really careful with those kind of things, is the message.
Yeah.
Whole 30, it's like the 30-day thing. What happens after that? Do people go back to their old way of eating? Ultimately, we're looking at making lifestyle changes for being healthier, not, these temporary little diet things.
How does one transition out of a low carb diet and back into regular society after they've been on this so long? Is that a possibility? Do they have to? This is where we see people coming back to where they were before, or maybe even gaining more. So once they're conditioned, is your body telling you you're going to be stuck there for a little while, or how's that work?
That's where we come in.
Yeah.
Awesome.
just because we've got to be aware of that transition. Like you said, you know, you on a low carb diet, you were craving carbs. That's what usually happens when we go the other way. So you definitely, it helps to meet with the dietitian, just to kind of walk through, okay, now how do I slowly transition back into this?
And I think an important piece of that too is it's easy to say, oh, I'm gonna go do low carb and just cut out all your carbs, but there's so much more education you need after in order to successfully transition out of that low carb without gaining the weight back. So then we have to, you know, use us because we can provide that education on how to, you know, if you're eating higher fat, let's make it healthy fat sources versus you know, bacon and all these things that you shouldn't be eating every day. So we can help you kind of ease into the transition of eating normal again, eating some carbohydrates, because we can talk about healthier sources of carbohydrates, healthier sources of fat. A lot of times I see people cut out all the carbs and they do nothing active. They have no form of physical activity. And so I think as you start to transition back to eating carbs, a way to prevent that weight gain is you got to incorporate some sort of physical activity too. So definitely using your resources to help with that transition.
Of course.
I have a comment / question. So we're gonna need a round of applause because one of our participants has dropped from 11.7 to a 7.0 and is down 32 pounds.
Yay! That's a big
So,
one.
yay. And she's created an indigenous diet.
Awesome. Very cool.
So she is, she's happy to hear that the nation is working towards an indigenous diet, which is something that we can promote in the future. So I thought it would be good if you guys want to jump in and say what you've been working on all year and what you've been learning and sharing.
I love the transition.
Yay!
This is my favorite. Yeah, so we, you know, at least I'm gonna jump in here because sorry. I was really excited to work with the team. It's taken years, right? Years in the making to not necessarily transition us anywhere, but to supplement or add to the existing practices and education and you know, methods that we currently use by utilizing and engaging a lot of our indigenous food systems. And it's actually more than slightly attractive for our target market, tribal members, to come in and see that you guys are drying corn and you're knocking rice and you're cutting. I mean, you guys are right in there, blood and guts and everything. These are our nutritionists. So don't let them fool you. They know exactly what they're doing. They know their way around it, and they have a tremendous amount of respect for our way of life. So I've said this a few times that one of our first meetings when I was introducing the concept of indigenous foods was, let's jump off the Outlook calendar for a little bit. Let's take a look at the natural calendar, when the rice is dropping, when the trees are starting to give sap out for this. And we're starting to think that way. And now they're on their own doing this. So seriously, share your experiences with working with indigenous food systems and let them know what you got coming up.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, thanks to John, we've really been just trying to dive in and learn a lot more about what, you know, not only what indigenous foods are, but how we can fit them into our practice. And so a lot of what we do is trying to sort of blend the two together, because a lot of true indigenous foods really are healthy choices. I mean, we're dealing with lots of different types of whole grains and lean protein sources, which are essential for a healthy diet. So we have, I mean, Heather went and knocked rice. We've dried squash, we've dried corn. We had some gardens that we did this year. And so really just trying to, not only for us, learn about these foods, but then trying to educate everyone else too about how, you know, these truly indigenous foods really are part of a healthy diet. And just trying to incorporate them into some of the materials that we can put out for all of you as well. So really, you know, Kathy and Heather have been doing an awesome job with like making cooking demo videos. I mean, you guys really have been the ones who have mastered it. So I don't know if
find those videos.
John?
we do have a YouTube channel where I've been kind of processing them on YouTube, so people can access just through the links, but as well in the the Ho-Chunk Nation Department of Health Facebook page, we also post those videos there as well. My hope is to develop a online video catalog so that people can not only see what we're doing, but also to learn a little bit about how to do that themselves. When is the rice ready? When are the trees going to be tapped? And so we have a schedule coming up where we're going to be actually, I'm going to show these folks how to make hominy out of corn and hardwood ash. We're going to go up, we're going to be tapping trees pretty soon. So harvest season just got over with, and I think this year they got to see how busy things are. And the great thing is like when stuff's ready, none of your schedule matters. It's time to go out there and get it done. And so I think we've learned to prioritize that and build our work around the schedule that is made for us. So, and then Kyla is actually going to be joining the team out in Las Vegas for an Intertribal Ag Council Food Sovereignty Conference. I'm really excited for her. We had this long talk, like heart-to-heart talk about this. It was really fun. Kyla working in the Dells, me working in Black River Falls, we don't get a lot of chances to engage and go out and do some of these, and sometimes her schedule doesn't allow her to do some of the activities that we do. So I was really surprised that she was raising her hand, ready to go out, and maybe she just has a gambling thing, but whatever the case is, she's really excited to come out and join us at the Intertribal Ag Council's conference. So we're going to learn a little bit more. Anything else on?
Well, I'll mention about our harvest of the month, because we have for the last several years featured a produce item once a month in our harvest of the month, just with basic information about the food, a recipe, how it's stored, prepared, and then we would put that out into newsletters and the Ho-Chunk newsletter. And so what we've done in the last year is kind of featured a different indigenous food each month. So that's been, kind of a nice shift, and just to draw awareness to those. So you maybe have seen those if you've seen the newsletter or any of the TAU newsletters or.
Yeah, and it's usually we try to post it on the Ho-Chunk Health Facebook page too.
Yes, that's right.
So let's kind of turn the subject a little bit. We had a couple questions here as well. Going back to the fad diets, have any of you jumped on a fad diet and would be willing to share your experience with that?
Probably earlier in my career I have, and it's, like most people I talk with and friends I talk with, it's short term. It's, how do you come off of it? And how do you eat normally for the rest of your life? Really long term. And yeah, it's usually not worth it.
And I think that's kind of the whole key is, we don't really recommend going on a diet, because that means going off a diet for most people. What we're really talking about is small, sustainable changes that you can really stick with for life. Really those good nutrition things like eating more vegetables, like not drinking sugary drinks, drinking more water, choosing those more unprocessed foods, and maybe even, if possible, cooking at home a little more, those kind of things that can be more sustainable and really kind of, maybe you don't see drastic weight loss, maybe it comes off more slowly, but it probably will come off and stay off.
Do you see people that are on a diet and are pretty good about hanging on their diet, except they have these habits like they don't have any exercise in it, or they're drinking energy drinks all the time, or they're throwing their diets off kilter? I guess a better way to say that is you see someone trying to diet but being very counterintuitive with some of their lifestyle choices.
I would say, yeah, I think typically, and I think it's okay to focus if you're trying to make changes, like focus on nutrition or exercise one at a time. Sometimes it's a little less overwhelming that way, but typically I see people only pursue one of those avenues rather than both. And I think for just long-term improved health, you have to have both. You have to focus on improved nutrition, but you also have to have some regular activity in there as well. I also see people who do really great Monday through Friday, and then are just completely off the walls Saturday, Sunday. And even though it's only 2 days a week, you definitely can undo all of the progress that you made on the weekdays just by, having too much alcohol, eating dessert all day, every day on the weekends, whatever it is. I mean, your weekend can definitely ruin your progress from the weekdays. So I think that's something I come across quite a bit.
So we talked about carbs, we talked about, different dieting approaches. One of the things I wanted to mention is when we engage a diet, there's also this new thing called intermittent fasting. And people are finding big results really fast. It may not be just water that they're losing, they're just completely depriving themselves of any nutrition for a set amount of time. Sometimes they're competing how long they can go without eating. Now, we're not talking about traditional fasting. That's what they'll call that. That's a different thing. That's for a different reason. We are talking about people that are fasting for the sole purpose of losing weight and losing it quickly. These are folks that are trying to make wrestling weight. They are trying to fit in their wedding dress or their tux. They are they just broke up with their boyfriend or girlfriend, and they want to look pretty sharp going out to the club, and so they're out losing weight. They want to fit into their jeans. They saw their friend lost 15 pounds, and they want to hurry up and catch up. What's happening during this intermittent fasting or fasting in general? And what is intermittent fasting?
So there's different kinds of intermittent fasting. There's like several different regimens. Some people do like a 5-2 where they eat normally 5 days a week and either fast or have very low calorie intake 2 days a week. There's alternate day fasting, which would be like every other day, kind of alternating regular with fasting or very low calorie. And then there's another form called time restricted where you only eat certain hours of the day. Like you have this like set 8 or 10, hours of the day that you might eat. So, I mean, there's not a lot of research on actual intermittent fasting. So I'm speaking about the actual like method of the diet of intermittent fasting rather than people just, fasting long-term. There's not a lot of research on it in people. There's been a lot of animal studies, and the research in people has been very small studies and short-term. They have not found so far that it's any more effective than just watching your overall calorie intake. So it could work as good as that, but it doesn't seem to be any better. And the thing to keep in mind is that it's not really been studied in people with diabetes, and it's not been studied at all in people with, in people with insulin. Okay, so that's the thing. If you take again insulin or diabetes medication and you go fasting, again, it's very, very dangerous because you could have, very low blood sugars. So, we don't have any research on people with diabetes or on insulin, doing these sorts of fasting things.
And that is dangerous because your blood sugar has to be kept in check. And this is the whole purpose behind insulin and eating. If you just shut that off, you could end up in a dangerous spot. And this is exactly what we're talking about. And you might see these folks, you may even have them in class, kind of lethargic or showing signs that, the sugar was low or high, you probably have, because you do test folks during the class. I've seen some people, I know Kathleen will do that as well.
Well, we haven't had people in person for a while,
Yeah,
so.
remember people when they used to come to class?
Yeah.
I know that we had that question on the 30, but also we have a comment here. This comment says, I also recommend our exercise physiologists to look into DDPY, the wrestler Diamond Dallas Page. You ever hear that? He has an amazing program called DDPY. Justin Dobbins is an incredible Indigenous man who lost over 300 pounds with a diet and DDPY yoga. Something I wanted to let you guys know is that the app is amazing. Maybe we can work towards an app, or we can investigate more in this program as well. Sorry, I don't have my reading glasses. So what do you guys think of doing it in the app?
Probably need a little help with that.
Yeah, probably. And I do know the EPs, the exercise physiologists, have engaged MedBridge, which has really been a big help in allowing them to kind of make things a little bit more consistent and more professional in terms of what prescriptions of Medicaid or exercises that they can do. So we're proud of them for that. Keep the questions coming. Let me slight transition here. Do you have another? Okay. When do you see diets becoming a concern where it becomes an eating disorder? Maybe intermittent fasting, maybe exclusive diets, maybe developing into binging, and you know, we don't want to say it, but we're going to say it: binging and purging. And you know, there are serious eating disorders out there where people are losing weight, but you can tell right off the bat that it's not healthy weight loss. So when would you start to notice someone developing an eating disorder where it's no longer about nutrition and dietetics and more about behavioral health and mental health?
I think some of the things that really jump out to me initially are once they start to associate like fear around eating certain types of foods, and just having anxiety around like sitting down for meals or whatever it may be. I think those feelings towards food are definitely a sign that they're on that path. I think if they're starting to restrict to the point where they're severely depleting their calorie intake, or if they're really like eliminating complete food groups, chances are they're going to be nutrient, you know, falling short on certain types of nutrients at that point. And so that's kind of a red flag for me. I would also say if it's starting to affect their social life, I mean, if they are avoiding going out to eat or eating meals that they haven't prepared themselves and had control over what's gone into those meals, and really just affecting their, you know, where they can eat, who they can eat with, I think that's a big sign as well.
Yeah, and yeah, just to go along with that, if what you're eating and how you're eating is negatively affecting the rest of your life, you know, maybe it's not time to talk with someone, just to assess. It doesn't hurt just to have that conversation. And then also it's, where was I going with this? Also, just kind of looking the reasons why you're doing the diet. Maybe I've got some body dysmorphia, maybe it's a body image thing and I've got to work on that first. So it's definitely kind of taking a look, having those conversations, and definitely it doesn't hurt to ask for help.
And we are available, any one of us, to be able to get you in contact with who you need to be in contact with, if that's something you wish.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to bug one of our interns, Erin, because she is, this is kind of her thing. She's on the camera right now, but the same question, you know, how can you tell when you're no longer dieting and actually developing an eating disorder that probably calls for a lot more attention? Go ahead.
So you want to look at, are you restricting calories similar to what the dietitian said? Are you really focusing on those labels, avoiding foods? Are you restricting all day and binging at night? Because that would be considered binge eating disorder. It often gets misdiagnosed. Would you eat a whole pizza and then purge it? Just really focusing on those calories. How rapidly are you losing weight? You should be losing 1 to 2 pounds a week. If you're losing more than that in a short period of time.
Yeah. So these are definitely signs to watch for developmental eating disorders, and they are a part of dangerous dieting, and it's really what we're looking at here. We don't want people to, you know, jump in whole hog and all of a sudden, and we may see that like the first of the year, exercise physiologists will tell you that's when all the gym memberships start rolling in. Is that correct? People have their New Year's resolution. They took 4.5 seconds to plan out their activity for the year. Are you seeing that, Jess or Kathleen?
Oh, yes. January to March is usually pretty crazy. If they last till March, they go full force and then people drop off big time.
Kathleen, same deal?
Yeah, unfortunately, same thing. I mean, gyms make a killing during that time because people pay for the stuff and they don't come back. I also just wanted to say there's 2 questions in the chat. from Carla and Melissa. So I don't know if you guys want to
Yeah.
hit those up.
All right.
But yeah, January, no New Year's resolutions, you guys. They're life resolutions. That's what they are.
That is so good.
Good move. Melissa, jump on. Let's hear you. Let me see. Let me find you here.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, definitely.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Melissa Day. I'm from Austin. I grew up in Necedah, just small town. My mom and dad was Ken and Crean Decorah. That's who I was raised by. Anyway, gosh, I would say in my 20s, I was in the big cities. And I got up to be about 230 pounds. I'm 5'2" now. 230 pounds. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get that surgery where they, take it out your stomach. And, it's easier for me to gain 20 pounds and have that surgery. And that way it'll take care of everything because I'm diabetic as well. Well, I had to be 255 pounds. I tried. I got up to 200. I can't get over 250. There was nothing I could do. I tried everything, like being like a sumo wrestler type situation. I couldn't do it. And I was just like, okay, I'm the biggest I've ever been. I'm not getting no bigger. Well, let's see what I get, a lot of body image controlled my dieting throughout my life. Now it's being, diabetic that rearing its ugly head at me. I did get I used to always be in 600s. That's where I lived. When they diagnosed me, I was like 700 for blood sugars. I ended up, the love-hate thing with the insulin and the pills and got a test. And I went through all that. And I actually ended up getting my A1C from the 16s down to like 7. And I maintained that. I maintained that for about 2 years. Let's say 2 years. I think you just get comfortable and things start happening. It's just more convenient to eat a pot pie, a little pot pie or whatever full of sugar. And just so I kind of slipped back down. So now I'm at a 13, but I'm back on medicine. I know I got to eat better. But no, yeah, I ran the whole gamut. When I was in my teens, I was a bulimirexic, where I was anorexic. If I did anything, I immediately threw up. The only thing that stopped me is one time I went to throw up, and my 2 best friends, they're guys, we were roommates. And they popped open that door while I was throwing up. And they said, if you ever do that again, we're going to knock you out, And it was really embarrassing. So that kind of ended that for me. And then they just kind of made sure that I, fell in love with food again, It was a wild roller coaster. But I think I'm prepared because I have, clothes from 7 all the way up to the 24s. I'm ready for whatever my body decides to do. And I think just loving your body, just, and my heavier days are like, oh, you're so fat. I'm like, I'm luscious. I ain't fat. I'm luscious, Embrace it, because that's the way God made me. So, yeah, it would, gosh, there's so many things that I've been through as far as dieting and stuff, but I guess, with the diabetes, you gotta pay more attention to that, otherwise you start losing your fingers, toes, and other extra, so I never realized how serious that was. But one diet that I really didn't have any issues with, it was like a 10, it was fat free kind of. It was 10 grams of fat. You're allowed 10 grams of fat. And that's what it was. So I got the fat free bread, and still has some fat in it, and I followed that and kind of just walked. I'm a fisherman or a hunter. I'm walking. I'm always walking. So I know I do pretty good as far as exercise that way. But yeah, I try to be more active. Getting older though.
What is your approach now? I'm curious. How are
Well,
you?
I just found out about my A1C actually yesterday. So I said I'm gonna start everything, wrap my mind around it, have the conversation in my head, like, okay, are we gonna be adults or are we gonna be stomp our feet and be mad? And I said tomorrow's my day that I'm gonna do everything I'm supposed to do and just try to. Because I mean, I've been diabetic since I was 23 and I'm 46 now. So, yeah, so I kind of know what I need to do. And it's just the different things that life throws you. Sometimes I can't afford the lettuce that I want versus, this quick little pot pie that's 99 cents. You know what I mean? So I just gotta, just get it back to where it needs to be. Like you said, it's a lifestyle. It's not a diet. I'm on a diet. And I think reason why everybody is going to the gym during the months because of winter, where we're at, because I know come fishing season, I'm not going to be in a gym. I'm going fishing.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much for sharing. That's something we really need to hear, and congratulations. You got support here, and we're happy to be there for anything you need. We did put all the contact information for everyone in the chat as well as on the Facebook Live. So you have everybody's emails if you need to get to, if you want to talk to anyone, we're happy to share with you. So Lindsay.
And on that note, the locations next to the names are just where they are housed. We do have telehealth services and ways that we can, it doesn't matter where you live, we can meet with you.
Yeah.
And then also we had a comment in the chat that Lorena would like to jump on real quick and say a quick thank you to some of our staff.
Lorena! Calling ya. She's gonna be there.
She might have jumped off.
Okay.
She said if she wasn't able to go live, she just wanted to thank you, that you have been instrumental in her new healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we did have a comment, and I think it's a broad comment. Well,
Oh, she's there.
Oh, she's back. She is.
I am
Hello.
somewhere. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Awesome. Kathy, I thank you so much because I know if I run into any problems at all, I can email you. I can just pop into your office like I did the other day and say, Kathy, look at me, look at my muscles. And and that was really cool. And to be able to just immediately set up an appointment so I know that I can come in, I can talk to you, and you can help me in all of my dieting. Like I'd mentioned before, I was doing more indigenous diet. So I was really glad that Kathy was able to help send me some more information. What's going to be healthy for me as an indigenous person? What's going to be healthy for me overall? And so it's so nice. And Jess, I appreciate you so much because I've asked you a question before, is this yoga pose right? Am I doing this right? How can I best do this? And so all of that was so instrumental to me. It's just amazing. So I kudos to all of you, and of course to my sister, Sarah, but definitely it's amazing. And you guys have an incredible program. And I'm so happy to benefit from it because like I said, I went down from like 11.7 and now I'm only a 7.0. And now this next one, they're thinking that I will be off all of the medication for both high blood pressure and diabetes. So I should not have any more. So
amazing.
Good for you,
so it's a
Lorraine.
combination of yoga, just workouts, and Kathy's assistance, and of course, I mentioned Diamond Dallas Page, and that too. And so all of that has worked together to help me so much. So thanks, guys.
Diamond Dallas shirts. Yes.
I've been advised I missed a question in the chat, so I'm sorry.
I was getting to it.
Oh, okay.
Is it the carb one?
It is a carb.
Yes. So is carb addiction real?
I don't know if I would consider it like an actual firm addiction. Correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron. But it's more of we've made it so forbidden that we really, really, really want it, and so we've got to work through that. So it's not necessarily an addiction, I would say, but it's definitely how we put it on this pedestal.
You know what I wonder is when you say carb addiction, like what kinds of carbs? Is it like sugar? Is it, like, the white flour kind of snacky foods? I mean, are you craving like, brown rice and, pinto beans? Those are carbs too. And, those are the things that would be more filling and provide a more sustained energy release. And I also wonder when people feel sometimes like, like maybe they're addicted to carbs, are they trying to cut their carbs too low or going long times without eating? And so they really need that energy. They really need that quick energy. And then they're craving like sugar or, those quick digested carbs, those processed ones. Jump in, feel free.
Okay.
I was just gonna add, if you feel like you have a food addiction, to reach out to a dietitian.
Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe not necessarily carb addiction, and I'm not a dietitian and I'm not giving a lot of dietary advice, but I do get a lot of people that say, well, I would eat less, but I'm addicted to food. Is there a difference between someone that has a clinical diagnosis of a food addiction and someone that just has a love of food? And there's a difference, Kyla?
I mean, I would say, yeah, and I don't know that there's like true written definitions that you could look at and distinguish, but I think it's a lot of those details in the behaviors. And I think what we have to remember too, I mean, I think if we were to look up like true definition of what an addiction is, I don't think that carb addiction really is happening, but like Kathy mentioned, if you restrict something so much, or if you get to that overly hungry point, or you're just like ravenous because you haven't eaten enough, what do we tend to go for? We tend to go for processed carbs and high sugar food and drink. So I think that's just, you have to look at what else are you doing in your day. I also think that those types of foods are ones that we tend to lean on when we're trying to cope with our emotions. So when we're dealing with emotional eating, those are the types of foods we tend to go to as well. So I think if we're looking at potential like carb addiction or food addiction, we have to look at some underlying issues too. If you just love food and you love, I mean, a lot of people love carbs, ourselves included. But I think there is definitely a difference between like feeling like you can't control yourself with those types of carbs or those types of foods.
So the other element here, we may not have really touched, but when we go into dieting, I think it's important to say, how did we get here? If you feel like you've been overweight, obese, there's a lot of different ways of measuring that in terms of I'm over my BMI, or I'm over my weight, or I'm 100 pounds over my recommended weight. And, we have this out there, the standard out there that we, at least in terms of health and wellness, take a look at. But how did we get there? And, some of the things that we brainstorm out is you're not in a healthy environment. You may come home, you know how, and then this is just me gonna go off script a little bit. Believe it or not, our people tend to eat a little bit more on the rich side, high calorie. There's a lot of history in that. High calorie, high fat. Family gatherings is probably a good reason. When you go to your family gatherings, what's there? I can assure you, it's going to be brown and there's going to be a lot of it. And, we talk about, and then there's always that auntie coming over here and say, hey, have some more, scoop up, and they'll come slop another thing on your plate. And it's sometimes it's hard to make healthy decisions. And so the team will always say moderation, right? I say, don't turn food away. You can eat your food, but don't eat as much of it. And there is no cultural stipulation that requires you to eat 2,200 calories in one meal. That's reality. So so we have things that kind of brought you to this point. Sometimes it could be sickness, sometimes a medical procedure. Depression is another element that brings you to increase your weight. Just a lack of ambition, motivation, abuse, medical, physical abuse, which would cause body chemicals release and require energy. You may not even realize that. That's something that, behavioral scientists and folks can do through counseling. Again, your self-confidence. You may not feel a lot of self-esteem or a lot of support around you in making some healthy decisions. Your schedule, your work schedule. I'm busy, I'm running, taking the kids to practice and trying to figure out where the next meal is going to be coming from. And then basic, biology, what are your metabolic rates? When are you starting to burn your calories and are you starving? And it's going to be different with each person. And even within that person, it could be different based on your schedules changing or your diets changing. So those are kind of how we got here. It's important for dietitians to know how you got there. As a matter of fact, when you meet with a dietitian and start going on recommended meal plans, they're probably going to ask you what time you get up in the morning and what you have for breakfast. And these are, I guess that's really important as well. And I want to kind of see what happens when you do an intake. Heather, are those the questions you ask them? Are you invasive and asking them way too much?
Well, I try to be nice about it, but yeah, you definitely want to know the background. What's happening in your day? How can we fit those healthy changes in? But before I even go into that, like you said, what's your day?
Yeah.
What's your work schedule? I even ask what's your sleep like? What's your stress like? That type of thing, because it'll all affect how well we do with eating.
And you're working with tribal communities, and sometimes access to food isn't our greatest feat and ability. We may not be able to have those fancy okra salads and things like that. We got 3 kids, we're working 2 jobs just to be broke. We're running to the grocery store. We're probably going to be shopping for either that meal or that meal and the next, but not much farther down the line. So we're shopping on the fly. So you as a dietitian take that all into consideration when you're creating those meal plans, right?
Oh, yes.
That matters. Finance matters, work schedules matter, kids matter, all of that stuff matters. So I think that's important to point out. And then, so for those who are, having this ambition to lose weight, we're going to be wrapping things up soon. They want to feel better or they want to look better. Image is kind of important these days, right? I don't want to sweep that under the carpet, but people, they want to look good because they believe that that's going to feel good. And we start getting borderline into image, personal image and self-confidence, and how that actually, not just on the impressionable youth, but also on some of us adults as well, that we want to look good and we want to fit our clothes really well. As sometimes we just had a breakup. We're asked to do this because for health reasons. And then, I was telling him all about the postpartum depression that, no, I'm just kidding. That wasn't my contribution to this list, by the way. Or more importantly, and very important actually, is the stigma of being overweight as a child in an environment where people are making fun of you. Making fun of people because they're obese does not make them want to lose weight. It actually drives them further into this area. And so it's important to create those healthy environments. So
Someone has a hand up.
All right.
Carla.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yay! Yes, we can.
Hi, yes. Yeah, I would just like to maybe ask a question more about the carb addiction. Maybe I didn't say that correctly. It could be sugar addiction. What I specifically meant, it was just too long to type out on the chat thing. But what I'm really asking is things pretty much, for myself first, but then also for other people. I have a really, really bad problem with, I guess, sugar and carbs. I constantly think about cookies and pies and cakes and donuts and cheesecake and ice cream.
Oh, you're making me hungry.
To the point where I, became almost obsessed about it. And I, I do have diabetes, you know, and I do take a lot of medication. I'm sorry, I'm crying.
It's okay. That's absolutely okay.
And I feel like it is some type of an addiction that I might have. I've talked to my doctor with this, and he just keeps pushing up my insulin. You know, oh, well, here, take more. Well, here, take more of this and more of that. And I don't think that the things that I eat are necessarily bad. Like, okay, I'll eat eggs and toast, or I'll have like a grilled cheese sandwich. But in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking about what else is there that I can eat, sugar wise, or cake wise, or pastry wise. I'm sorry.
That sounds really hard, Carla. Have you tried to speak with anyone in behavioral health?
No, I haven't. Only my general practitioner about it.
We would strongly encourage you to reach out to someone in behavioral health, because I feel like that probably would be a really good place to start, and someone that could really help you would definitely be what I would recommend.
Okay, thank you.
And there's certain things that are going on with you that are probably really requiring you to have that level of sugar, like just maybe you're burning a lot of energy, or you know, a lot of involuntary things, stress, a lot of those. But those are things that someone in behavioral health will actually be able to map out. It might not be as much of a food thing as a mental health thing that they are very familiar with. And it's important because the folks up here on stage, their work may not simply be about nutrition. There's often embedded mental health issues that maybe have led to poor eating habits or poor eating choices. So they know this stuff pretty good, and they certainly don't take the bull by the horns and try to fix it themselves. Neither do the exercise physiologists. We do referrals as well out when we see evidence of you know, eating disorders, or people that are having, you know, addictions such as that.
Or just help with stressful situations too. You know, it doesn't have to be anything really huge, like, but you know, even a tough time you're trying to get through.
Yeah, and they feel it as well. I mean, this isn't just about doing a good job. They care about who is in front of them. This is why it's good that we work here for the nation, because we are a family. We see these folks every day, and you know, sometimes we see folks and nobody knows their story. They do. So there could be something more related that they can help you with. But definitely talk to someone in behavioral health. Set up an appointment and just have a discussion. Just that alone can be so therapeutic and so helpful.
And I just want to say to Carla, or anyone else who can relate to that, I think behavioral health is definitely the first step, and then being hooked up one-on-one with, you know, one of us if you're able to as well, and having that dual relationship with, like, actively seeing someone in behavioral health and seeing us. I think that a lot of times is really helpful for people too. So you know, definitely some better resources out there, hopefully that can help you a little bit more.
And really thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
And that had to be
Yeah.
really, really hard. And, you know, thank you. I'm sure you helped somebody else too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Chris responded that she believes she's read some studies that link brain pleasure response with sugar. Is that a thing?
I think we have maybe an image
Okay.
that kind of shows that.
All right. I'm gonna go to my image person here. Come on, Erin, hook me up.
So it does affect a little bit, like those types of foods can affect some of our responses in our brain. And so just as an example, a lot of times what I find is if I'm working with someone who's in recovery from like alcohol addiction or drug addiction, it's really common for those people actually to start to essentially feel like they're addicted to sugar and to processed carbs, because it does play a role in our, you know, some of our receptors in our brain as well. So there is a link there for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Sarah.
Hi,
Hey,
Sarah.
so I just wanted to chime in and add my 2 cents to this, just because knowing and being a tribal member and some of the things that are out there, there's a lot of stigma involved with behavioral health that kind of comes with that. So I am so proud of all of you for mentioning that and bringing that up. We have an amazing behavioral health team, but for any of you that may be scared of that, of reaching out, and you're just not quite ready to reach out to behavioral health, just know that we're here. And if you ever need to just talk and work through those things, just to kind of discuss those things until you're ready to reach out to behavioral health, we're all here. Otherwise, reach out to a trusted family friend, somebody that might be able to relate to you, just to kind of build those supports around you. Because I know reaching out to behavioral health can be very, very scary for a lot of people. And if you have to be ready for that, you have to be in the right mindset for that. So just working on building those support systems around you. And when you're ready, then reach out.
Thank you, Sarah. That's very good advice, and she's right. Nobody wants to just jump in as you know, patient 23. But again, we're open, or else we wouldn't even be doing this tonight. You know, we're really hoping that people utilize the expertise and the services that our team can provide. Again, we're friends, we're family. We know our kids. We're, you know, and we're willing to help wherever we can. And then they do work very well, as Kylie mentioned, with behavioral health. And you don't leave us. You just, you know, are there for another service that they can provide. So we all help each other here. So any further questions? I know these guys are way past their curfew, but you know, but I guess I wanted to provide a chance for our team here, some of our members here online as well, to kind of reflect on tonight, and you know, some recommendations or anything that you have for anyone that wants to lose weight, what they should recommend. I know I hit Kathy one time. What's the best diet out there? You know, and Kathy was just like, I can't even tell. I can't even say. But,
well, and actually, you could put up the My Native Plate.
Okay, yeah.
That's why I put that in there.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So that we could kind of wrap up, because this is what we teach for diabetes management, for healthy, you know, weight, for even lowering cholesterol, blood pressure. You know, when we eat more fruits and vegetables, that actually helps counteract the salt in our diet to help us get a healthy blood pressure, that potassium in the fruits and vegetables. And, you know, it's not a terribly high carb diet. You know, it's a quarter of your plate is starch, and you can pick a healthier whole grain or a healthier starch. I mean, potatoes are fine. You know, nobody says you have to cut out potatoes at all, you know, but if you have diabetes, just kind of watching the total amount of starch or carbohydrate in the meal. And so certainly filling up half that plate with non-starchy vegetables, which can be frozen, fresh, or canned, so that they don't have to be, hopefully, out of your budget. You know, frozen vegetables can be easily steamed, and canned vegetables just rinsed off to get any salt off. So hopefully that can fit into a person's budget. Smaller meat portions, a quarter of the plate. So that can save money on the grocery bill as well, by having those smaller meat portions, or even going meatless some days in the week, where you substitute a bean-based meal, or like a vegetable stir fry with nuts or something, nuts for protein, a plant protein. Certainly soups are great, and you know, definitely an indigenous type of food, and they really stretch the budget as well. And we can get lots of vegetables and whole grains and beans and soups. So we teach the My Native Plate, half that plate of non-starchy vegetables, quarter plate healthy grain or starch, quarter plate lean protein of some sort, and then, you know, fruit for dessert if you like. So any comments there, or anyone have anything to add?
This doesn't look like a terribly expensive meal.
Yeah.
Instead of plate.
Yeah, and I think too, just kind of looking at the bigger picture, if you're setting out to lose weight, first of all, think about the why, because if it is just to see the number on the scale go down, that's not the right kind of motivation. And then I think the other thing too, you have to kind of think about is, don't do it all at once. You know, Kathy mentioned earlier, we're looking for small steps that you can sustain long term. That's really what the goal is for improved health for the rest of your life. And so if you're looking into things that are super drastic, not gonna fit into your lifestyle, cutting out like complete food groups, like those probably are things that you should kind of steer away from. So that you can actually maintain some of these changes longer term.
I'm gonna share this comment from David. Can you see it?
I don't know if we can read it, but we can see it.
Okay, I'll read it. So I'm experiencing changes due to having COVID. It's affected me in various ways. Weight control has become harder. Even with healthy diet and good activity habits, I'm eating less, but my sleep has also been affected. I'm interested in learning more about how to treat both my mind and the changes that I'm noticing in my body. Thank you. Have you guys come across any COVID effects in terms of diet, nutrition?
Sense of taste and smell, that's a huge one. So this is a little different, but I'm glad you brought that up, the sleep thing. Just that'll affect how well we're doing with our I don't want to say diet, lifestyle choices. But
Would there be anything right off the bat that you could see in terms of maybe there's changes in metabolism rates for somebody that are doing the exact same thing they did before to maintain or be healthy, and it's just not enough for them now?
Yeah, so we have to remember that weight loss is a slow process, and changing our body from the inside out should be a slow process. So if you were really, really ill with something like COVID, maybe laid up for a while, maybe even on oxygen, you probably lost quite a bit of muscle mass. So right there, you already have weakness kind of starting out into your, your healthy journey at this point. And yes, being sick like that for a while can change your metabolism or your metabolic rate. And so, if your metabolic rate is lower, your energy needs are going to be different from what they were prior. So even if you're back to doing things the same, eating healthy, your body isn't at the same point. And to really kind of change your metabolism, that takes months and months. So you can't start eating right and exercising and in 4 weeks expect to have your body back where it was. I mean, it really takes quite a while to really adjust that metabolic rate once you've gone through something like an illness that severe. So I think that's important to note too, is that you have to be patient because things like this are probably going to take a few months. So
this is a tribal member. This person should call one of you or email and sit down and have a discussion, and maybe you can find out as well. So I did leave those emails in the chat because it's harder to have a general conversation because you don't know what kind of calorie intake they have, their routine, if they're high fat, low calorie. That'd be a good opportunity for them to engage with you and maybe put a meal plan together and help transition that metabolic rate if that is indeed the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yes.
So awesome. Thank you. His email is right here as well, so we'll be able to have that and reach out to you, and we will, certainly. Thank you for that. That's a really good question too. Get 2 Twinkies and get the happiest dreams, Dave.
Wait a minute.
So, yeah.
Quick thing, I can hit 2 birds with 1 stone here. For those of you that have diabetes, we have a class coming up in December. So not only are you going to get help with diabetes management, but then for those of you that may not be quite ready to jump into that one-on-one situation, you're going to have, maybe 8 to 10 other people in this group that it's solely going to be you guys, and you're going to get to know each other, and you're going to get to support each other, and you're going to help each other. And maybe that is a better option for some of you that don't do well with the one-on-one situation. So if you're interested in that, certainly reach out to any of us. We'll get you signed up. It's available via Zoom too. Or it is Zoom, so you don't have to be in the local area.
And that's for diabetes management. And then we have our diabetes prevention class. We don't have the next one scheduled yet, but probably coming up soon.
I did put Rachel's email on there, so email her and she'll get you set up on dates. Let me read this. Menopause has come in. Although I walk 4.5 to 5 miles a week, I only drink water, watch what I eat, no sugar, still don't lose weight. I've been the same weight for a few years. I just can't lose. I must be eating too much.
Menopause is tough. Yes.
You guys, can I chime in real fast? I think a lot of times, women especially, you don't lift weights, you know, and I mean, strength training, especially through menopause, can make a real big difference with your metabolism. So, you know, I would encourage you probably to talk to one of us, and because I think sometimes too, if you cut your calories too low, you won't lose weight either, guys. So, you know, there can be a lot of things going on with that menopause, but I definitely would shout out at a dietitian and an exercise physiologist to try to help you out with that.
I was even thinking weight training for the previous question, you know, if they were really ill and lost a lot of muscle mass, maybe weight training for David too, you know, what might be helpful to kind of build that muscle mass back up.
Yeah. And it's not, you know, for a change in your body like menopause, we a lot of times have to look beyond just calorie intake. We have to break it down further and start to look at your actual food choices. A lot of times, for instances like that, small tweaks like incorporating more healthy fats, not just limiting fats, you know, things like that really can push along the progress too. So small changes like that can actually make a big difference. So.
We have the program recorded. The chat is also recorded as well. The contact information is there, and we'll make that available for everyone if they have any further questions, or if they have more personal questions. And I certainly don't expect anyone to, you know, drop their personal struggles here in a public forum, but they're here to answer some of those questions the best they can. And sometimes they'll, you know, kind of sound off on each other to get the best answer, because sometimes those questions aren't as easy as you might think. Even for a nutritionist who's been through the gamut of education and experience, there might be some new ones, especially with this COVID pandemic. You know, what is its mental health effect on people's diets? You know, so again, they're at the top of their game here. I did leave Kathleen Clemens' email address there as well. I remember hearing that from our exercise physiologist, Nick, who I think is way too overbuilt for a guy that short. He's definitely a bodybuilder type, but he's actually the one that helped me a lot with weight loss by encouraging me to lift. He's like, you don't even lift, do you, bro? And I was like, well, yeah, kind of. No, you can tell right off the bat I didn't lift. And so he got me into these bands because I don't like spending money on myself. Just kidding. My wife is on here. She's gonna calm me out after that. So I got these like weight bands, and it didn't take long. I felt really good. It was a healthy workout. You know how you get that feeling after you get done, you can't beat it. And he got me. It was very foreign to me. So I was doing like reps of like 10, and I was throwing this bar down thinking it was really goofy looking, and now it's become a part of my day, and I know that the numbers are showing I'm losing weight at a healthy rate because and that's the only thing I did was add that on to what I normally do. Now when we talk about lifting weights, I don't go lifting for 2.5 hours. I lift for probably about 15 minutes a day, barely, maybe not even that much. Just a few reps in a day, it makes a big difference. So I think Kathleen's absolutely right. Add that, and you might see some really big changes because, and maybe Nick can explain what's happening, or Kathleen or Jess, what's happening when you're building muscle.
Yeah, everyone should partake in a resistance training program. That's my more expertise in that than I am in the cardio work. Obviously, I know what I'm doing with the cardio, but when I was going through grad school, that's really what I honed in on was strength and conditioning. But you want to you want to obviously be working those muscles, not only because, you know, somebody might get stronger, get bigger muscles, and kind of like what Kathleen was saying, where if you're having a healthy diet just because you want to see the number come down on the scale, you have the wrong motivation. Same thing kind of goes in with resistance training. If you want to lift weights just because you want to have bigger muscles, that's the wrong motivation. There's so many things that people maybe don't know that happen when you're resistance training. You're building stronger muscles, but you're also building stronger tendons, you're building stronger ligaments, you're building stronger joints and strengthening all those muscles around those parts of your body. And that can lead to really good benefits down the road, especially as people start aging. It decreases your risk for things like osteoporosis and just some of those health issues that you might run into later on in life if you aren't participating in a resistance program. And not to mention also, this is not one of those things where you're going to be losing more weight overnight, but the more muscle you have, the more calories your body burns when you're not doing anything. We call it a basal metabolic rate. So when you have more muscle mass on you, you're going to burn more calories because your body needs more calories in order to keep that muscle in the body, keep it healthy, keep it functioning. So you want to make sure that you're doing that as well, because I mean, it has that added benefit of you burn more calories when you're not doing anything. Now, it's not something like you burn an extra 1,000 calories a day, but every calorie counts. So
Thank you. Thank you. Lorena.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Actually, this was a couple comments back, but the only thing I wanted to add was it's so beneficial to take pictures at the start of your wellness journey, and then maybe every month after that, because some days you're going to work out and you're going to feel so slim and trim and just awesome, and the next day you're going to feel, oh, I think I'm fatter than I was before. But being able to look back at the pictures and notice the differences in your body, in your face, your chin, your other chin, you know, whatever it is, it's so helpful to be able to look at that and notice all of those changes. And that's been the big catalyst for me, was to be able to look back at all of those pictures. And I talked to Kathy about that the other day. It's been so beneficial to be able to look back at myself and be like, okay, well, I felt a little chubbier this morning, but I can see how far I've already come. So I don't give up thinking that nothing's changed, because the scale hasn't, but I can see that I've lost inches, I've lost weight on my face, etc. So I think that's a big important step for everybody that's going into this for purely weight loss, is to be able to look back and see how far you've come.
All right, we're going to wrap things up with closing remarks from each of our panelists here today. So Kyla, you can start. Prompt you. Good advice.
Good advice. I guess I would just say, take small steps. Don't take too much on at one time. And that goes for like nutrition and diet changes or exercise. The more you take on at one time, the more overwhelmed you're going to get, and the more likely you are to not keep up with those changes. I would just try to take it like small steps at a time. And do not be afraid to utilize your resources. And if you don't know where to go or who those people are, just reach out to somebody. Anybody in health and wellness is happy to direct you to the right person or connect you to the right resource. So I know that can be kind of a scary step, but I would say utilize the people that you have access to kind of help you get on the right path.
And for myself, Heather, I definitely like to look at the reasons why we're doing it. We've got to have the right backing, otherwise we're not going to be able to keep up with the long-term healthy eating. And then last thing, learn to love vegetables. They are one of my favorites, and they're really a helpful key that I find working with anybody.
And I'm Kathy, and those are all great tips. I think I'll just mention, I really want people to love themselves and give themselves some grace, and, you know, feed themselves well, to take care of themselves well. You know, ultimately, we can only do that for ourselves and our families, but, you know, we can't really count on anyone doing it for us. So maybe that's a motivator, just to love yourself and take care of yourself by feeding yourself well, and you'll feel better.
Yes.
Well, it goes without saying, we wouldn't be here doing this without you guys. We love your feedback. We just live for your successes out there. And we take any one of your struggles as a challenge and something that we can overcome. Sometimes, you know, you have to recognize that you're not alone in this. You have to make some decisions, and you have to do all the heavy lifting, but you've got support right here. If you're a Coach on Tribal member or employee, these folks are, you know, right at just a phone call or an email away. They're happy to support. I oversee the exercise physiologist and the nutritionist. I don't think of myself as their boss. I really feel like these are people I look up to, and I'm constantly trying to impress them with all the boring grant works that I do. But I also, you know, work a lot with our tribal members in our communities. So I try to blend a little bit of our culture with what we do here in diabetes prevention, and I believe it works. It makes work really fun to come to. I'm very proud of every single one of you. If there's anything that I can provide or our team can provide, from not just us and our recruiters, but also our leadership, our community health director, our health director, we are all on the same page in terms of health and how important it is. It isn't about losing weight. Losing weight is just an indicator, one of many, you know, lowering your A1Cs or lowering your sodium or cholesterol or LDLs. You know, these are all kinds of things that we think about. When we do that, we also, in most cases, lower our risk for diabetes, lower risk for injury, increasing our ability to recover from injury. So these are reasons why we try to push for healthier diets, nutritious diets, and eating in moderation, because we come from Indian country and we are going to be gifted a casserole with tater tots on it and a lot of food. So we have to, you know that there are people out there making really good decisions. You can be one of them as well. We're planning on having quarterly meetings like this on a discussion topic. This was just our first one. We didn't know what we'd get, but you guys made it a success just by being here. So again, unless there are anything, you have our contact information. We will be archiving this for anyone that wants to hear it. I think there was a lot of good information. I want to thank Kyla, Heather, and Kathy for sitting in the spotlight and answering some of these questions. I know a lot of them weren't easy, and maybe some of the answers didn't, you know, lay out just perfectly, but sit down and talk with them if you can. So again, I'm John Greendeer, coordinator for the Health and Wellness Division. Shout out to Sarah for you know, paving the way to be successful in this division. So again, thank you all. I'm going to sign out and looking forward to hearing from you. Talk to you later.